Hi, and welcome to My Competitor. This is version 2 that I'm now releasing in test flight. It's not going into production as yet, and it's still under development. However, it's had some significant changes that I'm now going to quickly address as best as I can without being too verbose. So, the first thing, let's look at the club. With the club here, we now have the ability to assign a club to different levels. So, we can have a state level, a national level. We can have an association, um, and we can have individual clubs. Now, I've done some examples here. There's also a complete demo, which is what we're seeing here for the CAS down the bottom here. That's the complete association, and that includes some modelling on competitions based on their structure and a number of fictitious competitors. With that part of it, within the settings here, that demo data can be completely loaded or removed. If you remove it, it will have to have an app restart. So within a club, once when we go to a club, if we just pick here the association, it's not going to give us much. We have a website builder, we have branding. With the website content, we can put some information in there and different parts of it, what you want to put in. You can see you can have different types of things and different graphics that you can put in it. Now, not all this may not work. It's got some public content within your members. This hasn't got any members, so if I added a member, you can add them as different roles. So I'd need to add a member, and the roles include the athlete, this, that, and the other. There's one that's separate, and that is the instructor. So in here, it's got the instructor, and the instructor has two parts to it: what their appointment is and qualifications. And this is different to the coaches for specific reasons that we refer to this specifically for the website. If you're doing a website and you want to put on who is the instructor, the sensei, whatever is there, you'll use their website profile. And you can put it's a two-phase here. I've got to fix this, but you can see now it now brings up and says, what do you want to see as their photo? So I'm just going to pick any photo. I was going to pick my daughter giving, it's her birthday today. So let's pick Matilda for her birthday and put it there. And then that will appear. When we go and do the website builder, and you can see here, it generates it on the fly. There's a desktop, there's a tablet size view and what you'll see, and there's also a phone view. So it covers both of them. And then it says, what do I want to do? I want to include an instructor. So I'll include my instructor and I'll save that to the profile. You can add more details around that, but when you look at the main one, if I enable it in here somewhere, probably too far down. I've got to, sorry, edit instructor profile. Did I turn on who it was? Show in website, yes. Save. It should have jumped into here, website builder, and it should have been, oh, there it is, showing down there. And then you can go from any one of these fields that you've got here. You can go in here and modify those directly by the hyperlinks that says edit this field. And it will take you to the applicable data and you can edit it and go straight back into it. So it's dynamic on the fly of what you do. Up the top here, you can then go and either save it as a zip file or ship it and send it to someone as a complete package. It will either do a club. If you use an association, it will do all its sub, and you have that option within here, do the clubs. So I'm just going to cancel that. Uh, within the branding, you can see here, you can modify all the brandings as we've seen earlier on, and that can come straight in. The next thing we've got is communications. I'm not going to go through that. You can create a template music, and then you, through your draft, you select who you want to send it to, and then it will create the mailing list based on the emails in there. And then you can open it in mail and send it away. And you can save each one of these templates by giving them independent names. That can include things like, do I want to have an association, in this case, association flyer? I can create association flyer, and very similar to how we created the website dynamic on the flyer creator, we can add things here and we can add different photos. Now there's two parts. This one is a top bit which has all the clubs. This is an association and it just has the the little links down below. The information here comes from when we set up the locations and times. And there's two elements to this, what you want to see: a normal map from your address. The where am I is if you've got any specifics, if you've got a club that you've got to walk through a school and you want to do a map of how they get into the dojo for training, you can include a where as well. It's also got the ability to add the calendar. Now, the calendar comes from the calendar within the app, and it will associate the ICS. Now, this one here doesn't have the content I'll have to go and show. It does allow you to select what level. So if you've got little ninjas, juniors, trainers, etc., what calendar you want to accept. If you've got the association, you can either do it as individual or separate flyers. Now, I've got none in there for the moment. You've got different reportings and a club report. Now, I'm not going to go through it. So that's basically the club. It is a little bit more complex. I'll just touch on the calendar here. Within the calendar, if you've got competitions, you can see here it's got different colors for when I imported things. And underneath here, it says my filters, what do I want to see to and from? And, if I want to have a URL for that subscription, this is internal, so it's not going to show that. And need to narrow down. And if I've got any notes to include. So it will actually show the whole calendar. I'm not doing what the events are to and from because I've got no events loaded for this fictitious thing. If I put one there, I'd have to put the date. It should be now club only. And now I go down and filter into this period, and it says these are the clubs. What do I want to include on it? What do I want to see in the things? And I've got this stupid club here that was an import error that I haven't cleaned up. And then I can see what are the events, and you can see all the events here underneath for my whole club. And I can email this and attach it. Right, so this has got that. The next part to it is the competition, which is the one. Before I get to the competition, this is extremely important. Master catalog. Master catalog is used as the basis for the verification, and you can import if you're creating a competition yourself. You go and select it and say, I want to select which ones. So within, you put all your divisions, weights, what their standard time is. So if they're, this is a age 16, so, 2 minutes 30 as an open or 3 minutes. And, you can put different, how many people you would do, the weights, etc. Now there is validation. I haven't tested it. And you could do this, but this is the master catalog. If you are using sports data, you import the competition categories into the competition, or you can import them into your club and import them into here. There is a level of validation that you can do here: build from roster data, which is against your competitors, import from, as it says there, HTML. I'm not going to go fill weights and that. So if you've got that, it will go and pull it from the import it and then fill in the gaps. Back to the competition, which is the significant enhancements for today. And I'm going to pick one that's already completed, but I'm going to use it as an example. So I've got the competition. I've created a competition. I've got all the details around my competition data for time zones, extra details if I wanted to add it, acknowledgements, important information, and I can turn on branding. So in this case here, I want to use, branding. I want to use co-branding. I want Karate Victoria, Karate Australia. I can minus that and say I only want Karate Victoria, and I select that, and that will appear on all the reports. Or I can have more than one Karate Australia and Karate Victoria, and then I've got to order them of which way I want them seen on the top. You can have a maximum of 4 in co-branding. We then have the categories, as I said. This one here is a built category. So this has been imported from Sport Data. So it builds it directly, and it allows us to assign a coach. I didn't talk about coaches, etc. You can assign someone to a coach or a referee, assign coaches to a Tanami, or you can later on assign them through the timetable. And you can also assign them to an individual if you have specific coaches for individuals. But it's saying none assign, and there's 2 registered competitors at the moment in this competition and 2 expected. Right. So the expected is used for the synthesizing of the competition based on that you don't have real information or data. Once when we get that, we have the competitors. If we import these, it's got all their names, all their competitions in categories in which they're competing in. At the end of a competition, this can be linked back to a person to update. I'll cover that in a moment. Timetables, it gives us a timetable. Now, this is imported directly from Sport Data, so it's from SETI, and it gives us the link back to this SID. So if I open that, it would go and open the sports data. The next thing is the create the schedule. I can display the schedule, and we can see here, I've now got a schedule and I can see everyone there. Within the settings up here, there's some variables in which I can change. Show kata, show kumite, I can turn off each one of those. If I had photos of individuals, I can add them. I don't want them. I don't think I'd ever want them. And club filters, so I can filter what clubs I want to see. I only want to see Victorian clubs, Victorian members. It's now filtered down and saying here, here's my co-branding up the top. I've got some details here, and it now filters down the competitors to show only Victoria's. So it can do that on the fly and produce a output very, very quickly. The cover page is that top page that you saw, and there's also, you can show weather. Now, the weather won't work on this. If the weather is turned on, the cover page must be printed, but because we're already past this date, we can't get a forecast for the back, right? If I turn off that, it will turn off the weather. It won't show it won't show the weather. Now, the weather is also stored here, but I just want to just show, like, I'll pick one that I know, Veronica's competition here. So we can see there's only two names. If I went down here and turned off the club filter and show all competitors, done, you can see now there's a lot more names. It's already appearing. So, and there is the Victorian competitors. Now, this is data that I've been playing with, so it's not exactly true. It's also got the days, and you can add filters on the days of what you want to see. So you don't want to see, when you print, I want to see upcoming, I want to see what's on the screen as a single page, or I want to see today, etc. So there is a number of filters there, and it prints in 2 pages per day, a morning and afternoon. So if I did a preview, that's what you would see. The next thing is the draw. Now, I'm going to play with this very quickly as best I can because it's been going too long and you're probably bored. When you get to the draw, it's got some filters up here of what Tanami you can show all, or I can show one. And this is to get straight to the competition scoring. So if you're using this to score, which you wouldn't normally do, and I have to go back to the competition, there's a flag here to say whether you use it internal or external. If you're not doing the competition draw within here, you disable this and that option will not be available. As you can see, no draw. If I'm going to do it here, I've got now the draw back available. I can do it. So I can say I want to see a kata if I'm looking at a kata, and I want to see it for Tanami whatever. Right. So I'm going to say Tanami 3. It'll now show I've got a kata. Now there's a difference behind that because the scoreboard, as you can see here, is different. It doesn't have the scoring, it just has who's the competitor. I've left the time there just for the sake of it if you're going to do a time for that, but and then you'll say disqualified if you're disqualified, and it will just say it's now finished, and it should say the winner on the option one thing. So the name, clubs, etc., and a bit of branding up the top. If I want to clear that, it's got down the option to clear the results and redo things. I can assign a match winner at the end if need be. So winner and undo the last, clear the results in this case. Right, I've got to unlock to clear. Right, if it's a kumite, which I'll change over here to a kumite, and I only want to see today, a day, so I'll pick the same thing, and I want to do a filter on under 14s, minus 52. So as a thing, and I can say here's all the competitions, all the things. So this is per match. It's a little bit arduous, but I can now bring up. So it's got up here my 2 competitors in red and green, and it does do a tree. So I can now do assigning the scoring, and since she's pointed, I can clear that if I had to do here, and I'll clear that. If I've cleared that and they're now both 1-all, and I walk here, next score will do this. So it does that. It's also got a penalties, match the penalties up, and you know, oh, and it assigns the winner. So that's really once again up the top here. Unlock if you need to clear Sensu or you need to undo clear results. There's an undo last, which you can see here, undo, and it will clear that and it'll go back in steps. So, and that's how it done. The next one is slightly different, and I'm going to switch views at the moment because I've only got it on the website. So I need to go and switch to the, where does it say Safari? All right, so I can see Safari. You can see here I've now got an equivalent. This is a website, and I can have multiple people clicking through my web server. So as part of the settings, and I didn't show you, you can have a website running from the app. So if you've got a Mac, you can run it and multiple people can connect over a LAN. So it's got some, details that you saw in the other ones, what my club is, competitions club, all these type of things. When I get to the competition data, I've got the categories again and it shows me with the details. I can select which one I want to see. I can go into the event, not much in there. And this is by person, what they're competing in. I can select my timetable like you saw. There's a bit different in here. Timetable with competitors is very similar to the events. And once again, we can see it's got pages, etc., but it's not with all the colors. And then I can select my club by, in this case here, Karate Victoria. And it will now go and filter the competition as we saw earlier. The difference one is go back to the timetable again, and I've got my event schedule. This one is the one that you saw with all the colors and shows the red and salmon, I think it's called, and the blue for the male, salmon for the females, and blue for the males, and has those filters up the top here. Same thing, similar. And I only want to see Club Victoria, and I only want to see a day. So I only want to see the 10th. And I can also not show the thing. It's print slightly different, but it's the same thing. And you can see here, once again, it only shows the two. There was more competitors on the day, but this is from what's a direct import before they update it. So it's showing those information. And if I wanted to see multiple clubs, I can apply those filters and now I can see the two clubs that I want to see. So if you have a competition and you want to see both clubs, either show all or you can filter out. And it works quite well. The next one, as I was showing, the draws. This is a little bit arduous and not as easy online, but if you've got multiple people, this is the only option. So this is the hard pick. This does not filter down there, and I haven't been able to fix that, but I'll use the under 14 minus 52 as the example, and I've then got to go and select the correct one. I don't know why it's not doing that. Um, uh, it should now show. Okay. All right. So here's all the matches for that. And then I say open the draw. So here's my draw. And you can see there it's got all these, it's hierarchical things because it's already been run and it's scored up to this point. But you can see it's got the scores there. But I'll select this one. I go, I want to score, and it opens up a new template for that. 3.3 minutes seconds, it should be in front. Start and stop the clock. You can add down here up to 0.1 of a second increase, 1 second increases, and reset the clock. There's I set the clock, sorry. I can set it that I want it to drop it, 0.8 seconds and set, and and then go start, and it'll count down, and there's no winner. I've got to wait for the judge, and then I'm going to oh, I don't know what's happened to my there you go. No, that's what only got me sent you there. Um, so um, I'm missing one part of it to do the match winner down the bottom here. You can just see it down the bottom here. I can do that and go winner and assign the winner from the judges and the referee's response. And that's really, I'm going to clear the unlock. So the functionality is exactly the same because it's got no time. I need to unlock and clear, and then set for, because it's now got no type. So it's a bit hard when I'm already, I'm going to do it to set. All right, so it won't lock itself up. And then I'm going to undo, unlock, unlock, and I'm going to clear the results and set it back up. So once again, I can go and score, records it. I can take away a score. I can add a penalty all the way up to 5. And then, oops, I need to capture that. I'll just need to address that separately, but it was working, and probably because it's still locked. So that, okay. Um, and I can also disqualify, and it tells you who they are and who the winners are. And that's really the basics in which I'm up to. Hopefully it has some use. I just need to switch back across to the app, and I'll go back to my competitors. So as a wrap up to this, and in my competitors, if I can get to it, as sorry, if we can get to it, as you can see here. So that's the competition down to the final end. If you're running it from Sports Data and you get the results, you can get in here and you can create some reports from this. Here's the medal count from the Australian Open. That's the true medal count. And you can see who the people are. And it updates the history from here. So that will go away and update the members' history. And even if I deleted this competition, it would retain it against them. And as you can see, it's updated the athletes, and it's keep. And you can also do a club results report. Now it'll bring it up and says who's my medals, medal results. Oh, sorry, this is the same thing. And you've got the print here of what that are, and you can then produce that into. Oops, sorry. Okay, done that. You can do a filter. Good ideas to use those. But you can save it as a PDF or HTML if you want to put it up on your website, and or share it via those. So that's really the club part of it. The other parts are around the administration. Really, there's all the templates. So everything that you can load, etc. There's templates. There's settings to do from iCloud Sync. If you turn on iCloud, I'd suggest if you're only using it in isolation, don't turn on iCloud unless you know what you're doing, because it can cause some problems. Backup and restore. You can do a backup to iCloud. You can export a full data pack, and you can then reload that later. You can do an offline. You can transfer between two devices, straight up, a full or partial between two devices. So it then gives you what do you want to transfer, and you transfer it for two. They must be on the same network. You can back up, as I said, to the cloud. So here's my backups, and keep those, or and you can refresh the list to get the latest, and then you can restore by selecting whatever one. And so I want to roll back to this date. The number at the end there, where you see 100, 197, etc. That's the versions, and therefore they may be out of date and not compatible, and it should either error, crash, or tell you that. Hopefully, I've got it right, and then you can restore from whatever one you want. Restore from backup. If you save a backup down here, you can backup and share, or backup to folder. You can then restore that backup. If you click on it, it will open. The compacted database, if you're using the cloud, this will grow very quickly, and it'll have, as you create and modify records, cloud actually inserts a new record and deletes the other one, but it doesn't delete it fully. So occasionally you'll have to compact the database. If you do compact the database, it will have to close so it cleans up. Now, the last point I need to talk about is security. Now, I won't go through all these. That's the demo mode. The database integrity, it has some database integrity, sorry. And that will scan the database for where we have orphan records, misaligned records, as you can see there. Um, and it has the ability to fix based on normal logic that we have a relationship of sports data. Sports data is the people that have these weird names, and when they've copied them in, they've left a non-printable characters, so you can't see them online. It means that their record is slightly corrupted, but it won't affect. We treat and manage that and on import, but it does there, and we'll go and clean that up. Missing categories, that means there's something misaligned. Stale mutual timetables, don't worry. Empty block, so I've created within the timeline one that says new block, and it's empty, so it will go and delete those. And timetables with rows with no days. So I've created the timetable entry. It hasn't been allocated the date and time, and now it's a problem. So I can go and run this, and it'll tell me that it's going to repair. And then it will come back and say, I have no issues, hopefully, and it will resolve all those, and it'll tell me how long it took. Right, so it's now fixed those. If I go in and out, it says this was the only one, and it says that this is a day on Tanavi 2, and it's repairable. No, it's affected. So I need to manually go and interject there. I said I was going to talk about security. Within security, just need to go back. Within the security aspects of it, um, you've got users, you've got, sorry, RBAC, etc., manage users, and you can create and add users. If you don't want to, you don't have to enable it. Whichever way, anything to do with what we call personal private information is secured separately in a separate database. So it is one step away or disjointed for safety reasons. When you do the email communications, if you use that and it creates the email list, it will also make sure that they are in the BCC, blind carbon copy. It will not send them in the carbon copy or the two as recipients. And it does that to protect people's email. So private information is treated with a due level of things. With a user, if you add a user, you can see he's got his name, you give it a role, and whether they can get this personal and private information, personal identifiable information, that's what the PII stands for, personal identifiable information, date of birth, addresses, etc., that we don't want um, given out without due reason. We can protect that, right? And then you can put it across that. So you can go and get from an individual. So what club, for example, I don't care, and then I can select an individual from that. So this is the data. So I can create pretty quickly a user and then assign them a role. The web server I spoke about, it has a web server, and it says allow web server on this venue. You've got to open it up, and you've got a few settings, including, auto start, allow LAN access, right? So that means it will be internal. You can allow it. What port it's going to be run on, you can change the port. If there is a port conflict, if you select a port, and let's say, for example, that's 8088, and that's already running, it will change the port and tell you that and give you a chance to select it. Um, the link, so this is a very important one. Local host is only local host. So anyone on that network will see it internally. If you want to expose it to external, um, you'll need to expose the IP address. So even in a venue, if you're hosting on a LAN, you'll need to expose that, so you can do both, and that allows people to connect to whatever host is running it. Allow insecure access. So fantastic. Or do we need an API key? And there's a whole section on API keys that you can see down here, and you can regenerate it. Stop and start the web server and launch with the keys, right? So you can have a level of security without having full security of your server. Anyway, I'm going to stop it there because this has been too long. There's a lot more in there, and a lot of it's covered in the help files. From the user manual is very detailed. It's hyperlinked all the way through. So what do you want to do, how it's used. So there is available on an iPhone, iPad, and functionality slightly different. And you'll have to work that out for yourselves at this point of time, but it is available.